Welcome to Gotta Run. This is Will Sanchez. This is a very special episode of Gotta Run. My special guest tonight is Scott Cohen of the New York Flyers. This show is dedicated to the memory of Laurie Harris. Laurie was a longtime member of the running community. Moreover, she was a beloved teammate of Scott and a member of the New York Flyers. Welcome, Scott.
Well, thank you. I genuinely appreciate you having me on, and I also want to thank you. You provide an outstanding forum, for the fitness community. I'm sure I'm not the first, but many thanks for what you do.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Scott, before we cover Laurie, let's introduce the audience to you. Tell us where you were born, a little bit about your childhood.
I was born in the Bronx. My folks moved. At that time, me and my sister, I guess I was about 3 years old, we moved to Eastern Queens, grew up in Glen Oaks, Queens, along with my younger brother and younger sister.
As a kid, were you athletically involved?
Certainly not to any extent. I have a website. It's my business is called The Athlete Within.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't find my own athlete within, essentially until I was in my early 30s. I did a little bit of swimming in high school. I remember in the 80s I became very enamored playing racquetball. That was the sport,
mm-hmm.
Back then. Until one day the proverbial light bulb went off, above the head that said, maybe you ought to try running. And I kind of
This is when you were in your 30s?
This was not until I was about 30, 32.
Okay. Well, there was something going on in your life that said, oh my gosh, I need to do something about weight or exercise or diet or anything like that?
Quite honestly, I really wasn't enjoying my life back then. I sort of lacked what I felt was any real direction.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I needed to make certain changes
mm-hmm.
in my life, and I'm not quite sure, what may have driven that, but I've never stopped being grateful for taking those first few steps. I used to smoke a lot of either Marlboro Lights or Parliaments way back then, and I'll never forget, those first couple of months of running and all the cursing that, I would be doing in Central Park. People probably looked at me like, something's not right here. My introduction to running, way back then was anything but smooth. If anything, it was a revolution, mm-hmm. Going on inside my cardiovascular system. It said, stop, what are you doing to us?
And you found the athlete within, you said.
I think I have.
Were you running with a club at that point?
No, I started out. As a solo, runner. Upon moving from Queens, I moved to the Upper East Side in the early '80s. I just started running alone. I had aspirations to run the 1993 New York City Marathon. That was supposed to be my first New York City Marathon. I didn't quite make it, unfortunately. My dad got very sick. He had been diagnosed with lung cancer, and even though I was training, I spent more and more time going back to Queens to spend time with him and my mom. Lo and behold, of all days to pass away, he passed away on the afternoon of the 1993 Marathon. New York City Marathon. I will never forget that day.
So sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It stands out. I remember how warm and humid that day. But I did, in fact, run the 1994 Marathon.
In fact,
I did it in his honor.
Oh, excellent. In fact, I ran into you again recently at the Streakers convention.
Our little banquet, yes.
Yeah, a few weeks ago. I didn't realize at the time you said that was going to be your 19th marathon. Turns out it's your 20th.
I made a mistake. I am not known for my math skills. It was my 20th, notwithstanding the...
So that 1994 was the start of a trend for you.
Yes. I've been fortunate enough to have not missed, a running of the New York City Marathon.
That is remarkable.
Thank you.
Was there any one year where you said, geez, I don't know if I should be in the starting line. I don't think I should.
Well, the streak was compromised 6 or 7 years ago when I developed, about 1 week before, back then we used to do the last 10 miles of the course, usually about a week before Marathon Sunday.
Yep.
Something went on in my hip, and I went to see a physician who was diagnosed. It was bursitis in my hip. And I said, do you think I could still run the marathon? And he looked at me like I have two heads. I did run it. I ran the first 10K. The pain started setting in, and I ended up walking. I imagine, 14 to 16, miles.
But you finished it.
I still finished it.
You're still a hero. I mean, that's a tremendous...
The streak lives on.
It's tremendous endurance. But I guess, did you start the Flyers the same time you started the marathon training?
Yes. Well, it was 1994. My neighbor at the time, Tom, lived next door, and... we didn't know each other very well at that point, but he saw I was running. We started talking about running, and inevitably, I said, I'm training for the marathon, and he said he was doing it too, and he offered the invitation that his running club, the New York Flyers, we charter a bus. Back then, in 1994, I think we probably had about 2, maybe 3 buses, which eventually became very, very popular and grew to maybe a dozen
buses.
Buses.
Wow.
Maybe not that many, but at least 7 to 9, buses along 86th Street. It was always 86th Street in Lexington, but I'm very grateful. He offered that invitation. I took him up on it. I will never forget how nervous I was on that bus as it was slowly making its way out to Fort Wadsworth. Yeah, but that's how I became involved. I ended up joining the club.
With the Flyers. So they're a very well-known club. They're huge, like 400 members or more. And they've been around for more than 20 years, I believe.
It's my 20th anniversary, but it's our 25th anniversary as a club. The Flyers were started back in 1989 by a couple of guys. John and Tim, and I think they need to be very proud, of the legacy that they've created.
You guys should be proud. And you always have the end-of-year gala that I always keep hearing about.
We have, not to be missed, our awards night.
Everybody wears tuxedos, I think.
Quite a lot of us do, yeah.
I see the photos.
Yeah.
But you went on from being a runner to swimming and biking. How did that come into the picture?
It certainly started, with distance running, the marathon. Then I began to cut my teeth on ultra marathons. I really enjoyed that as well. I believe this is my 15th anniversary as a triathlete. I was introduced to triathlons in 1999 by a very good friend, Frank, and we started more or less around the same time. So I believe it was 1999. I had done my first sprint, triathlon, and I've evolved, since then to the Ironman.
Do you have a favorite Ironman?
Do I have a favorite Ironman? That's a very good question. I think it most likely would have been this past one for a few reasons. I had met my wife, Elle, 6 years ago. She joined a charity that I coach. She wanted to train to run the New York City Half Marathon. Successfully completing that, I have helped in turning her into not only a marathon runner, but she just completed her first Ironman this past August in Mont Tremblant.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
in
Mont Tremblant. It was my 9th. It was her first. It was just the most incredible day, for both of us. Her folks were there to see her, and I got to see her smile at the finish line while I was shivering.
I can understand. So you met 6 years ago because I know she's a well-known flyer as well.
Yes.
So you recruited her to the flyer family, I guess? I
don't know if I recruited her. As memory recalls, she had asked me. Yes, she's become certainly a very familiar face. Also a captain. She's also a captain in her age group. I coach 2 charities. This charity is called Lend a Hand India. Money that's raised is used to create vocational programs for kids, mostly in Mumbai, but other areas in India where schools are built. Kids are taught to become an electrician, a plumber. Several different choices are given to these kids, and I was very fortunate enough to visit Mumbai in 2011. I ran the marathon, the Mumbai Marathon, and after the marathon I visited the schools. We put on clinics, running clinics for the kids.
Oh, excellent.
It was just tremendous. Now, the other charity that I coach is the Lupus Foundation. I've handled their New York City triathlon team, and right now I've worked for the past few years with their New York City half marathon team.
Oh, so, excellent, yeah. Excellent. Let's talk about Laurie Harris.
Please.
So we're dedicating the show.
Yes.
I never met her personally, but I did see her last year when you had the first, I'm wearing the shirt for it, the first Hope and Dreams 5K. I was on the tram on my way, and she was on it with her kids and dog and family members. And she looked radiant. I thought I was going to a wedding rather to a 5K. She was so into it.
Yeah.
And later that day I met you because you were very much involved in getting that 5K created. So tell us about Laurie.
Sure. First, I just want to say very briefly, I mean, it was just the most wonderful day. It was a charm to that day that I'll never forget. I'm very proud of. My relationship, my friendship, with Laurie definitely goes back, quite some time. She's been a very dear friend. Laurie tells it like it is, and I've been no exception to that. I've been the beneficiary of Laurie's counsel, in just different things, and she's been an extremely, dear friend.
How long was she a member of the team?
It's a good question. I joined in 1994. I believe Laurie joined somewhere around 1997 to 1998.
That's how you got to meet each other?
Well, the Flyers are renowned. We're a very social club, or as I'm not sure if our mutual friend Ed had coined the term. I think we were a drinking club with a running problem. As these last few years, I think what's really touched me more than anything. We would always meet. We'd try and meet like once a month at the same Starbucks over on 2nd Avenue, 83rd, 84th Street. I would tell her what's going on, with my life, relationships, with running. She'd clue me in on what's happening, with her life. And sadly, when she did tell me, about the pancreatic, cancer, we started to meet more and more.
That was, 2 or 3 years ago, when she was diagnosed?
Yeah, let's say about 2012.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about that disease.
It's one of the sadder, types of cancer. I mean, no cancer, is good. Maybe, others give you
they give you some hope, if you catch it in time.
If you get it in time, if you're, if you're on top of it, and you practice a certain type of living, you can extend your life. Pancreatic cancer, unfortunately, does not discriminate, nor does any cancer, but it's particularly nasty.
Yes, yes. I think some celebrities have succumbed to it.
Certainly Patrick Swayze.
Yes, Patrick Swayze.
I've always admired.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows used to be One Day at a Time with Bonnie Franklin. Bonnie, I believe, passed away.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. But you're right.
I want to say it was before, I think she predeceased Laurie.
Yeah.
But you hear, of so many
like you said,
people.
It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter.
And it's quite possibly in my dad's instance, who knows, as the cancer metastasized, perhaps maybe it was pancreatic cancer that hastened, his own passing. Like Laurie, well before their time, at a young age, too young.
Yes, Laurie was about 63 or so.
Yeah.
Yes, but remarkably, she lived to the very end, because she went to that race last year in October, knowing that she didn't have that much time left, and and her family was there. So tell us, how was that? How did the Flyers get together and decide to honor her in this way?
Well, first off, I think that race clearly epitomizes, Laurie's spirit, our sense of determination. The athlete, who has run well over 500 races. I'm not quite sure how many marathons Laurie has done. I want to say that she's run something like 15 or so New York City marathons. That's just New York City. But again, it really just kind of shows the type of grit, determination, but grace, that really I see, in Laurie. As far as how the club approached it, I've held offices in the club. I was president of the Flyers back in 2002, so we're going back a dozen years or so. But I do recall, it was a concept that, we really wanted to do, at least a decade ago. We were a big enough club, and maybe we could stage our own road race. Mm-hmm. So Laurie really was the catalyst. Given how loved, she is, mm-hmm. Her presence, everything she's done, for the club, the contributions that she has made, the friendships, that she's made and have endured over the years. I approached our executive committee, our advisory board, and said, guys, this is as good a reason as any. If we're going to do it, let's do it. Mm-hmm. Let's do it for Laurie.
Yeah.
We've got someone who's so well admired, and time is of the essence. Given what's going on, with her, and I just started to make some calls, and thankfully things came together. I approached Steve Lasto from New York City Runs. Steve offered us a format. We picked a date, August 10th, 2013.
Beautiful shirt.
I want to give great props to Laurie's daughter, Tracy Redeker, who is an artist in her own right, who really designed the beautiful,
It really captures
image.
her spirit. If you never saw Laurie and knew the shirt, you would see it right away, the resemblance. Oh, yes.
Exactly.
That's her.
Yeah. Laurie's flowing, mane of long blonde hair, and aside from that, I'm never going to forget Laurie's gait, her running gait.
Yeah.
It was very distinct.
Okay.
Many people have a distinctive running gait, but Laurie definitely, it was a combination of her running gait, how she carried herself, and the hair.
Yeah,
the hair just flowing everywhere.
Yeah.
We agreed to do this in Roosevelt Island, which is easily accessible for a great many people living in Manhattan, Queens, and we secured the date, we secured the permits. Then a lot of the work began in terms of, going out, and I really hadn't had much experience in putting on a race before, but I think that it was luck played a very crucial part in this, and people saying yes, having the help of a great many people, and we went out and got sponsors. Somebody introduced me to Skechers. They gave us a tent, they donated shoes, they offered us their showroom, and they're very much involved in this year's race in a couple of weeks, November 22nd.
November 22nd. Oh, again on Roosevelt Island?
Yes, yeah.
People can find it by...
If you go to nyflyers.org, we're partnering this year also with Purple Strides. They're going to help us to really give assistance, financial, other types of assistance.
To pancreatic cancer people?
To families.
Also, purple is the pancreatic color, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the purple ribbon.
Okay.
This month, November, is also Pancreatic Awareness Month.
Oh, great. But she also mentioned, I believe Roadrunner was also a big help the first year. I think they donated the money to print the shirts. I'm
forever grateful, to Mary Wittenberg, both for the opportunities that she's given me, this past, decade, from a professional perspective. And also her willingness, to give, whatever we needed, to put this on, to honor Laurie, just fabulous in terms of really helping us out.
That's great. I don't think Roadrunners is known for that, so it's good to give them a plug that they're more than just a running company. They have a human side as well.
I believe they do. A
world-class organization.
Their product. Yeah.
They put out a great marathon as you did your 20th.
Absolutely.
That was a great show, over 50,000.
Yeah, the excitement really never dies in the New York City Marathon. It's
I was there as a
special day.
I was there as a volunteer, and I got to run. I hurt my knee a couple years ago, so I'm not marathon ready, but I could run a few miles. So my friend Lance, who was running on behalf of Joy Johnson, another person that passed away.
Yes.
And I ran with him. I was on 7th Heaven. My legs were floating. Those 10 blocks, I managed to keep up with him.
Oh, yeah?
It was great. Roadrunners, I think they came to your gala last year to honor Laurie, or, Mary was there.
Mary and the Roadrunners bestowed the Joe Kleinerman. I'm sure very warm memories of Joel. And as I do, another character in a long list of characters, present in Central Park. And
I think he lived beyond 100 or something like that.
I'm not sure, but it definitely was up there, and I'm sure it was an extremely rich life.
So he presented the Kleinerman Award to
myself, to Alan Gardner, the president of the Flyers, and to Neil Levy, Laurie's husband. The three of us went up on stage to accept the award.
Laurie had passed by that point?
Yes, yeah. Laurie...
must have been a very emotional day for everybody concerned.
This was a club night. Club night, I believe, was either the end of February or beginning of March.
Okay.
I'm not certain.
But this year?
It does bring me back to, a very somber memory. And that was Laurie's memorial.
Yeah.
Which was quite well attended at a church in the East 70s. Many people were there, including Mary. Mary gave a very moving, speech. Quite a few people did. Mary's memories and her very kind thoughts of Laurie really stood out. A memorial can be a very sad thing, but that memorial, very similar to that Saturday morning, the sunny day of in August, it just brought a lot of people together, and there's just a lot of love, a lot of positive energy, present.
Okay. Well, Scott, we're almost at the end of our short interview here, but I understand that you and Elle are moving to a different part of the country. So tell us about the next chapter in your book and Elle's book.
Okay. I wanted to, again, thank you, really for giving me the opportunity to come on. It's also, I'd like to use the opportunity to say thank you, to the fitness community. I'm well over a decade of being downsized post 9/11 and saying, well, let me try the fitness world as an opportunity for growth and direction, and I've never looked back. I've I've tried to create. I've tried to leave an impact, and I've been extremely grateful, for all the people I've met. I loved, every moment of everything, that I've done here. It's just been the most fabulous time of my life. Mm-hmm. My wife Ellen and I, we are very soon. We are embarking on our next great adventure. We are leaving New York City. We're going to move to Austin, Texas. We feel very good about this. We're extremely excited. It's a great city. It is an adventure. I'm not sure yet, what direction it's going to take. I'm hopeful that there will be opportunity for me. I'm hopeful that I can do certain things that I've done in New York and use a lot of the experience, that I've earned. And hopefully transfer it to Austin.
If there isn't a Flyers chapter there, you guys could open one.
There are, I believe, about 4 or 5 Flyers that have moved to the Lone Star State, so we won't be alone. And you never know. Yes.
All right. Well, listen. Good luck on your new adventures in Texas.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure.